Call to order. Tuesday, June 16th, 6 p.m. Board of Education special meeting. Beginning now. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Treasurer, can you call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Dauberberg?
Here.
Ms. Zimmer?
Here.
Ms. Herbert?
Here.
Mrs. Walsh? Absent. And Mr. Kirschner?
Here.
I have a statement from Mrs. Walsh. June 16th, 2026, special board meeting of GMLSD, Board of Education, statement of board member president Kathleen Walsh. I regret that I am unable to attend today's special meeting. I am concerned that the administrator selected a meeting date that does not allow the participation of all elected board members and chose an agenda format that does not allow for public participation. The board canceled a regularly scheduled meeting without being advised that doing so would create the need for a special meeting to address urgent matters and matters requiring action before June 30th. Had this information been provided, board members could have considered those consequences before voting to cancel the meeting. Once a special meeting became necessary, board members were asked to provide their availability. An alternative date was given that would have allowed all 5 board members to participate. That option was not selected. The purpose of adopting a meeting calendar is to allow board members, employees, parents, taxpayers, and the public to plan for and participate in board's work. Tonight, neither full board participation nor public participation has been achieved. I find the lack of transparency and inclusion concerning and unacceptable. I respectfully request that only those personnel matters, if any, requiring immediate attention remain on tonight's agenda and that the remaining items be deferred to a future special meeting. Based on that availability previously provided by board members, June 25th appears to be a date that would allow full board participation while still meeting all required deadlines. I remain committed to serving the students, staff, and taxpayers of this district and to conducting the public's business openly, honestly, and with accountability to the voters who entrusted us with this responsibility. Thank you, Kathleen Walsh, Board President, Groveport Madison Local School District.
Madam President, may I ask a couple questions based off that to our administrators? Just want to make sure, because there's some statements in that messaging I want to confirm. Ms. Walsh states in her statement that there was a date that was selected by administrators that was not selected where everyone was available. Was that true or not?
No, I didn't. I got emails about June 25th, but I did not get responses from everybody saying that date was good for everybody.
Okay, so it wasn't like I just wanted to make sure so it is all clear is that because that's stating that there was a date that everyone was available, and I know I didn't have June 25th if that was the date that was also proposed. And then the second question was everything that's on the agenda tonight, from my understanding based off your email, is necessary for this evening. There's nothing that needs to be removed that is not necessary.
Yes, my items are all time sensitive.
Roger that. So we can't find another meeting date like it should be done tonight.
It would basically eliminate at least one of the items completely and could be problematic as far as from a hiring perspective and with timely action.
Okay. And Mr. Treasurer, same for you.
Same for me. I mean, I have my appropriations that I have to get done, and the way we're canceling meetings and stuff, and if everything I need this stuff done sooner rather than later. And everything that I have on mine is normal everyday stuff that happens every year in June, with the appropriations, temporary and final, the CCIP grants application, the BWC annual renewal. Now the 2 MOUs, those need to be done by July 1st also, so we can start doing the sick days like we used to.
And so then I would say, based off your email, I did not read it as just to also further provide context to that statement because I don't want our administrators to be looked at as if they were negligent in any way. Our lovely, treasurer was on vacation, as we all are allowed to have that, and he wasn't planning on us canceling either. So his thought was he wanted to be here for these items, which I do appreciate the professionalism in that regard. Um, but that is happening just share it in the future. I don't think it was I did not think it was intentional. So I just wanted you to hear from me that I did not, but I wanted to confirm on record that the date where you canvassed and received the most was this date and that the items on the agenda are what they are, they need to stay. So thank you, Madam President, for the opportunity, and thank you to Superintendent uh, Treasurer Mr. Collier for getting this together and answering those questions for me this evening.
Okay, moving on to section B, agenda approval, um, adoption meeting agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have one request.
You gotta turn your mic on, John.
It is, I have one request to amend, and that is, item, DE1, administrative personnel items. I request that the high school assistant principals, Folsom, Spears, Ivan Spears, and Park, be, pulled and allowed to be voted on individually, please.
And that was E1.
Yes.
Is there a second?
You said voted on.
Yes.
All right, so we'll do this question first. This is to have this high school assistant principals voted on individually. First by John, second by Ashley. Correct. Roll call. Mrs. Otterberg.
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer.
Aye.
Mrs. Herber.
Aye.
And Mr. Bridge.
Aye.
And then, is that it?
I don't know.
The original motion was first by Mrs. Otterberg. Mrs. Zimmer. Mrs. Herber. And Mr. Bridge.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to item C, executive session. It is recommended that the Groveport Madison School Board of Education enter executive session pursuant to ORC 121.22 G1 to consider appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against public employees, official, licensee, and regulated individuals unless the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing. The board further acknowledges that no formal action or vote will be taken in executive session and that any subsequent board action will occur in open session.
So moved.
Wait first. Mrs. Otterberg.
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmer. Mrs. Herber.
Aye.
Aye.
6:09. ready. Yep. I'm ready.
It is 7:30 and we are reconvening we are adjourning executive session, reconvene in open session. Moving on to section E, superintendent's agenda.
The superintendent recommends that the Groveport Madison Schools Board of Education approve the following administrative personnel items as outlined on the attachment, with the exception of the items from the agenda approval, which was we're going to vote separately on the high school assistant principals. So
Right.
it would be all the items now without the high school assistant principals.
Correct. And in board docs, I made 3 separate motions for those 3, for the bridge and for the contract next year. So that's correct. This first motion is just for everything but those 3. Correct.
So moved.
So we're voting on Deputy Superintendent Thomas Holdren, Principal ASB Nicholas Wright, Assistant Principal Middle School Central Michelle Copeland, Director of Teaching and Learning and Accountability Grace Wagner, and Assistant Principal GLE Madeline Wimmer.
I have a question really quick. So I know that we've already approved the agenda. If we wanted to pull anything else out, could we do that at this time, Mr. Treasurer? Is it too late to do so? I believe it is, but I just want
we've already approved the agenda.
Okay.
So yes, John, going back to yes, that's correct. That's how many people we're voting on.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I have a first by Ashley and a second by John. Very good. Mrs. Dauterberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Herbert?
Aye.
And Mr. Kirschner?
Aye.
Okay. And James, okay if I read them because I have them in order. So the superintendent recommends that the Groveport Madison Board of Education approve the following administrative personnel. The first one I just started from the beginning is Milton Folson's, his bridge contract for 25-26 and then his 26-27 contract.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Treasurer, did I hear correctly? You combined both columns,
Yes.
correct? Thank you.
The bridge and I did it for all 3 of them that way, if that's okay. I just did
Thank
the
you.
bridge.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, and I got first by Latoya and second by John.
Yes.
Mrs. Dauterberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmer? Oh, sorry.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
Sorry. We have the days on there. Is that set in stone? Are they for sure going to work those days, or will that fluctuate, go up, down, or?
The 10 extra days,
Yes.
the 10 extra days would be any time prior to August 1.
But given if something comes up and we need extra days, can they work more than the 10, or would we not be able to do that?
Not without additional approval from the board.
But they could work less.
They can work less. Yep.
Thank
Okay, I'll start over. Mrs. Dauterberg?
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Herbert?
Aye.
And Mr. Kirschner?
No.
All right, the next one I have is the superintendent recommends that the Groveport Madison Board of Education approve the following administrative personnel for Shante Ivy Spears, again for the bridge 25-26 contract and for the 26-27 contract.
So moved.
Second.
John, I got John in a second.
Any questions, discussion? Take the vote.
Mrs. Dauterberg?
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer?
Can we do a 5-minute recess? I apologize.
And a motion.
Second.
Ashley, Latoya. Approved for 5-minute recess. Okay, it's 7:35. Yeah, I'm sorry, new roll call. Mrs. Dauterberger?
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
And Mr. Kirschner?
Aye.
Okay, it's 7:40 p.m. We are back from recess.
And we are under the motion. I'll read it again.
Mhm.
Superintendent recommends that the Grove Madison Board of Education approve the following initial signs for Shante Ivory Spears and the bridge contract for 25-26 and the 26-27 contract. We have Latoya first, second, John.
We're in mid-roll. We took a recess in mid-roll. Latoya has already voted yes.
Yeah, Latoya voted yes. Mrs. Zimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Herbert?
Yes.
And Mr. Kirschner?
No.
Okay, so, all right. And then the last one, the superintendent recommends the Grove Madison Board of Education approve the following administrative personnel for McKinsey Park. Again, the bridge contract for this year and the 26-27 contract.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so first Latoya, second Deanna.
When they're working for us, they will not be also being paid by another district, just for the record, correct?
Correct.
Good.
Call the roll.
Mrs. Delberger?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Herbert?
Aye.
And Mr. Kirschner?
Aye.
All right, Jamie, you can take over now. Had those in order. No, I didn't order.
Before we move on to the next item, and she has a daughter with a 20th birthday tonight, so we'll get her out of here. I'd like to welcome Grace Wagner as our new Director of Teaching, Learning, and Accountability. Grace comes to us most recently from Johnstown, but I'll let her tell a little bit about her background and introduce herself to the board.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me and approving me to be here with you guys. I'm really excited, mostly about the opportunity to step into new work here in Groveport, to honor the great work that's being done, and then to sustain the growth that is already happening, hopefully for years to come, in the Department of Teaching and Learning. So I'm coming from Johnstown most recently as the Director of Student Services. I have a background in special education. I've been working with students for about 25 years in some capacity or another. So really, really excited to be here. I'm really grateful. So thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Grace was also a middle school principal, and she worked in career tech. So we're excited to have those experiences. All right, you are excused, Grace. Go enjoy that birthday party.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, please do.
Superintendent recommends Groveport Madison Schools Board of Education approve the following certificated personnel items as outlined on the attachment.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Delberger?
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
And Mr. Kirschner?
Aye.
Superintendent recommends the Groveport Madison Schools Board of Education approve the attached classified personnel items as outlined on the attachment.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Delberger?
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
And Mr. Kirschner?
Aye.
Superintendent recommends the Groveport Madison Schools Board of Education approve the attached special education contract for, I always want to say Americas,
Emergis.
So moved.
Second.
This is just for some services to provide over the summer.
Do we know how many kids we're providing it for? Or how
This is just for
hours?
one student.
What is the time frame and the terms? Because it says it will follow the school calendar. Is this throughout the entire year or just for the summer?
No, this is some, I don't know if it's compensatory, but this is some makeup minutes to be completed this summer.
So why is it open-ended and why is there a place for overtime? Why does it say follow the school calendar and then why is there a place for overtime?
If it's for the summer break is in the school calendar too, right? I thought it was. So that's how I would read that, if I'm not mistaken, because we break for the summer, and that's a part of the calendar that's approved for when we work with the union to approve it. Correct?
This is, we did not have internal staff that were willing to do this work. So we're hiring an
Okay.
outside person. And I think these are just the rates listed as part of their contract.
Oh,
And on the billing rates, $85 an hour, but if they go over 40 hours a week, that's where the overtime probably kicks in. Because legally, we got to pay overtime for over 40 hours. But I don't think that they're going over 40 hours at all. But I think legally they have it in the contract.
Well, if it's only for the summer, would you not want this narrowed to reflect that? Or
But it says it's the June 11th to August 3rd.
I
So yeah,
missed that. Okay.
yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, it's June 11th, August 3rd, which is summer.
Do you want overtime on there, or do you expect no overtime?
I think we have to keep it on there for federal regulations where if they have to go over 40 hours, we have to pay them that. So
I don't think we're anticipating
No.
overtime.
From what I heard from Mrs. Branowski, no.
if it's one student, I would assume that our director of special education would then question if it's for just one student in our district for that time frame. They would bring that to your attention, or you would catch it actually,
Right.
Mr. Treasurer, to
Exactly.
make sure we're not
Yep.
overspending here. Okay, thank you.
You're good. Mrs. Donenberger,
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer,
Aye.
Mrs. Herbert,
Aye.
and Mr. Kirschner.
Superintendent recommends Groveport Madison Schools Board of Education approve the resolution for necessity for Groveport Madison radon mitigation.
So moved.
Second. So this is to declare an urgent necessity for the radon, correct?
That's correct. Radon mitigation.
So on the agenda for tonight, we have radon discussion. We have no motions. We have no urgent necessity. So no one could be prepared to speak to that, or I don't even think.
It was in the revised agenda that I gave you, but yes, Mr. Bobby Dodd is ready to walk us through all this.
But that went out when?
Last night.
Okay.
Any questions, or you just want me to start going through
Just
timeline?
go through and give an overview if you would, and then I'm sure they'll have questions.
Okay. Well, as you all know, in November, we started this process with Dunlow Elementary. Went through that. We used Gandy, and we also used OTS, Ohio Technical Services. At that time, once we went through Dunlow, started the mitigation process with the radon. And at that time, we thought it was pertinent to look at some of the other buildings, since two of the other elementaries are the same exact make and model as Dunlow. And so then in December of 25, we started getting radon testing for the other buildings. At that time, we went through the administration building, Middle School South, Middle School Central, Glendenning, and Groveport Elementary, and Sedalia. That took us to into January, because when it comes to the radon testing, Gandy and OTS does the testing, Gandy does the testing, and then it takes at least 2 weeks to get the test results back. Then if you have test results, they like to go back in and see and retest again just to make sure. So for an example would be Glendenning. We tested that rate. It was higher than 4 pixels, which is the rate that you're looking for. You have positive radon. Glendenning, they retested. Some of the numbers were down. So at that point, you really average it out in the business of radon mitigation. And so at that point, then you take Glendenning, and that's not listed as a place that you have to get radon mitigated. So that process continued into January 26, took us down into February 2026. At that time, we have Gandy is still doing the test results, getting back to us, having to follow up with radon sampling. Like an example is Sedalia, tested positive, but had to go back and retest again just to make sure we had like the former bus garage, Asbury modulars were being tested as well. So that's through February. We're still getting test results. Then you also have to do asbestos inspection. So before Gandy can come in and do any type of work with radon mitigation, you have to then make sure there's no asbestos. It's like OTS is going to go in there and do the work. You have to make sure there's no asbestos. If there is asbestos, you have to remove that. An example would be at Madison Elementary. They had asbestos in the tiles. At that point, you have to remove the asbestos before you can even do radon mitigation, which makes your costs go higher. So the radon testing and the asbestos testing takes time. It's just like I said, that you have to wait 2 weeks. Same with the asbestos testing. Once you have a place that's positive that you're going to have mitigated, you have to do the asbestos testing. So these companies have other clients that they're working with. It'd be nice if they were just working with us, and we could constantly have them coming, but they're not. So that stretched us out into March. And so then into March, again, we're doing radon testing at like the 4500 Hamilton building. We have testing at Groveport, Madison. At that point in March, we had some inaccurate reads at Groveport, Madison. Gandy had to come back in and test again. That took more time. Took us into April. Again, we were looking at different buildings. At that point in April, right in the middle of April, we had reports for all the district facilities. So we had all our reports from the testing. And then at that point, led us down into May, right in the beginning of May, when I got here. So then I was able to meet with Gandy, Mr. Cruz and I met with Gandy and OTS. We started going through all the buildings that had positive reads where we're going to need abatement, radon abatement. So we did that in the beginning of May. And then, so right around the middle of May, towards the end of May, I told them, like, we're going to need our proposals official so we can take it to a board meeting. I had to remind them when our board meeting was in June to get the proposals. We ended up getting the proposals at the end of May, which I believe were shared with all of you. And then when it came to June, we had one of the meetings, which was postponed last week. And that led us to this evening with this proposal that we have from Gandy and OTS and Lepi.
You might not know because you were not here. So if you do not, I apologize. I was looking back through the meeting minutes from when we did Dunlow Elementary, and it doesn't mention anything with the asbestos. Did we do that when we did Dunlow?
Yeah, Dunlow did have some asbestos that we had to address.
So the good thing would have been in December during a winter break, we were able to mitigate that very quickly because it was one building. We were able to get in there a lot of straight days in a row to do that. So asbestos removal probably didn't take that long just because of the fact that they were there each day in the building, focused on one building.
I'll just say I have two issues. One is urgent necessity. This is a long standing. I don't think there's anybody that's going to argue that, oh, the radon just all of a sudden showed up. It's probably been similar readings for many moons. And then also, you know, with a build this size, and us looking at numbers carefully and budgeting carefully, I think with a over $300,000 spend, and it may be even higher when you talk about the asbestos removal and electrical. I think bidding would have been appropriate, and I do not believe this is long-standing. I do not believe this was an urgent life safety matter. It is a long-standing issue that needs addressed, but I don't believe it rises to the occasion of urgent necessity, and I certainly don't want to be party to using urgent necessity to avoid bidding. So that's my concern.
A couple items I would touch on. You only do radon testing in the winter. I think we shared this before. There are certain months from it's either October, November to the spring when the building is under a heat load. That's the worst exposure, and then we test in there. When we tested Dunlow first and it came back positive, the normal step would have been to do secondary testing, but our numbers were significantly higher over that it could not have averaged down under. We did urgent necessity back at that point to try to get the work to do the work over Christmas break. Over Christmas break, we also tested some of our facilities, and we tested some of our facilities over some of the long weekends. The cargo containers have to be out for 3 days undisturbed. And when some of the results came back, we did have to retest some buildings, and we were waiting for that. And then when we realized there'd be some areas due to the mitigation, that we also needed to do the asbestos testing. The reason urgent necessity comes into play that there would have been no way to do the work this summer to go through and design the scope and do the bid process to do that. So that's the reason, and the attorneys felt was a legitimate reason that we could use urgent necessity, but that's the reason why it seemed like a long process, but we're still looking at that provision to do that work.
I would say with the completed quotes and everything we have, that getting competing quotes would not be a major undertaking, since we have the readings and we know the rooms and all that. So I still believe that there is and should be time for competing quotes, and this is a big spend. And again, I know that we did use Christmas as an urgent necessity, but again, longstanding radon. Whether an attorney says that's an urgent necessity or not, I do not believe longstanding radon rises to the issue of life safety, and also the reason that we started all this was for air quality, and I think it got expanded into radon for complaints that weren't relevant to radon. Thank you.
Can I ask a question then based off that, what Mr. Kirshner stated? So if other things came up during that time frame, is that what happened, that we were legally required to address them because they came up during the review of radon? Is that what I'm...
Can you ask me that again? I'm sorry.
So Mr. Kirshner is saying that he believes that these are just things that were, I guess, sitting, if I heard you correctly, and that this is being used in order to take care of other items. So I'm asking, during the survey and review for the radon, were these other items found at that time? And because of that, are we legally required to address those? Like with the asbestos and all that. If I heard Mr. Kirshner correctly.
Right, sure. So she's asking, what else did we find in the air quality testing?
I'm saying, yeah, and is that why you're addressing it versus it being like it was negligent and weren't being fiscally responsible?
I don't think this came about as a result of air quality testing. There was a specific room that there was concern that there was radon in the room. We had that room tested, and it was very high, and we mitigated that room. We thought it would be appropriate to test that building since they were significantly high in the first room. We tested, and a good part of that building came back as above, and then, I mean, it literally came from one room that we started and tested, then expanded to a building, and we did the testing throughout the rest of the district. I'm not, I know we talked about air handlers early on. I think Mr. Kirshner suggested that air handlers might be a better way to address the issue. But this, to my recollection, didn't come from air quality.
I thought there was a employee complaint, headaches, breathing problems, etc., that actually instigated the air quality issues, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, at Dunlow Elementary, correct.
Right. And all I'm saying is none of the health issues that were raised would have any correlation to radon. So radon was expanded. And now if we're saying, oh, it's got to be this, I'm going to say, I don't see any way in our area where radon is radon that all of a sudden this is here. We found it. But if we do it this summer for 300,000 versus we do it next summer for 200,000, if there's better bids, I think we're addressing the issue without, what, in my just one man's opinion, abusing what's the term, urgent necessity, because we all, if you live around here and you have a basement, we all have radon, and we address it and we live in it, and it's high in the winter and the kids are not living in it. They're coming, and they have been. A lot of districts don't even ever test for radon. The majority do not. And so all of a sudden this is urgent life safety, whether an attorney says so or not. I just do not agree. I think it should be addressed, but I would, in our current climate, watching our dollars, getting ready to hear what our treasurer has to say about our finances, I think we should bid it.
I have one more question then to either one of you, if you don't mind. I do recall when the radon issue came up around December, and we were using the time frame to do what we did. And there was also an article that came out in the Dispatch from I want to say either the High Department of Education or the governor's office, talking about the law, if I'm not mistaken, or whatever it is that deals with radon and looking at changing that in levels. Is this, and this may be something you have to get back with me on, but with this proposal here, is that in line with what that article was talking about? Because it was so dated, and when we were mentioned in the article, that's kind of how that whole conversation started, if I recall, last winter.
I'll have to talk to Ty. I know there were a couple articles. There might have been a TV station, and also the Columbus Dispatch ran some things. But I don't remember the specifics of the article, but this would put us below health department recommendations for the radon.
It looks like there's pending
That's
legislation,
what I thought.
the Safe Schools Radon Act, House Bill 820, that is being discussed and was introduced in April.
So we probably want to keep an eye out on that. So in the event with that legislation, there's grant money, and we wanted, as board members, we probably want to make sure we communicate with our folks so that they can grandfather in those that were proactive with going above and beyond what's currently required for the betterment of our children. So thank you. Thank you, Ms. Emmer. But that was my question, just to see if we were going down that route to be ahead and just not being okay with what it is.
Yeah, I think when you look at the numbers and the test results, and it gets right back to what you're saying there, it's like you want to be proactive instead of reactive for the health of our students and our staff.
And in my research, and I have researched this, the Ohio Department of Health, there is no mandate for schools to test for radon. The Ohio Department of Health suggests that it's tested for every 5 years.
That's correct.
So again, and everything I read and everything I've researched is, that's not life safety. That's not urgent. That's not a fire. That's not. So I just, again, I've already said I don't want to beat the dead horse, but I just don't see this. I see it as a necessity. I just don't see it as an urgent necessity that would allow me to excuse frugality and competitive bidding. Thank you.
And just the one thing for a financial part, just because I know that you guys talked about cuts last time, this would be paid out of the building fund, so it would not be paid out of the general fund. So it wouldn't affect salaries or anything like that. So we have a building and capital improvement fund that's to be paid out of. So I just want the board to be aware of that.
It's still in a different,
right. Right.
It's in a different piggy bank, but it's still in the piggy bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to let you guys know.
I have two questions.
Yes.
First, if we were to not declare this an emergent situation, do you think we would have significant saving doing multiple bids from other companies? Were you able to research anything to get any
No,
feedback?
I did not research that, but I can. But I did not research that due to the fact that our goal was to try to get this done this summer for the safety of our
Oh, no,
staff
you're
and
fine. That's why I was gauging it that way. And then
Yeah.
my second question, which you might not be able to answer, it says they do a post project completion test 2 weeks after. Given the circumstances that's going to be in the summer months, we might not get an accurate reading. Is there any guarantee that they will come back during the winter months when it's higher to test for that? And would that be an additional
Yeah, we
cost
can
to us?
definitely ask them to do that. Yes.
Just to make sure we're getting accurate readings, because obviously it won't be high at the time.
Yeah, I mean the post mitigation, it's not dated or anything like that. They just typically, like with Dunlow, they came back a few weeks later. But we can talk about that since, as Mr. Group said, that's the best time to test.
Mrs. Zimmer, I had that same question when I saw that the testing immediately after. I know they do the testing part part of it is to adjust the fan speed and how much it's extracting, but we would need to ask them if it's, I don't know if it's just part of after the installation to balance things, but you're right, it wouldn't be under the heat load later in the year. So we would need to, I guess, ask.
Yeah, so
the appropriate-
there's an example at Dunlow when they came back in and they had to dig different pits because it wasn't the fan. They tried to put a bigger fan in, test it again, and realized they needed to have pits in different locations in order to pull underneath the concrete, a different area of the slab, and then they hooked everything together with the pipes, and that went out that way. Then the readings went down. So yeah, we can definitely ask them that.
And then if we were to do the bids, how much would that delay the project, do you think? It doesn't have to be
Individual
exact.
bids. Well, getting back to what Mr. Kirshen was saying, another company wouldn't be able to use Gandy's design. So you have to remember when you
So
start
they'd have to
taking
start from the
bids,
beginning.
you're taking bids on the design, then you're taking bids on the company who's going to mitigate your radon, and then mitigate your asbestos. So I think some people, we think, well, we'll just take the plan from Gandy. We wouldn't be able to do that. So now we're getting in multiple companies. And again, that's why we went with the urgency. As you can see, the timeline I went down, that's about 6 months. So I think we're talking probably get us down into probably next year in 2027 when we'd be able to get the bids together and be able to move forward. In my opinion, could be quicker, but I guess I'm looking at the previous timeline and what it took just with these 3 different companies. So if we brought multiple bids in, there'd be some costs there, and it'd also be timely.
So explain to me, if you would, the difference between the Leppy Enterprises and the Gandy and Associates bids.
So Leppy is going to do the asbestos removal. So that's what they specialize in. So Gandy then works with them to create a plan. And then Leppy created a plan, told us what they could do and how much it would cost and how much each piece was, I believe, 170 each. And so then they go and they say, well, it's going to cost us this much. And then if you look on there, there was a question about why are there 2 separate proposals? Well, we decided, talking with Gandy, they told us you would probably want to have the pipe insulation removed now, because if not, it could cost you 8 to 10 more thousand down the road to do it. So Leppy would already be there. They could remove the pipe insulation. If not, you would have to have a separate company come in and remove it, which would, due to inflation and all different demands, it would cost more. So that's why that looks a little bit different.
Right. And so Gandy and Associates is providing the radon reading, and then Ohio Technical Services Inc. is providing the remediation, correct?
The OTS does the abatement, correct? Yes.
Okay.
And then
So-
Gandy will read, and then they'll do the post testing. Yes.
So Gandy's work is separate, right? And have we
Yes.
paid for Gandy's work?
No, we have not.
This bid is Gandy and OTS combined, you're saying?
Yes, the first.
So
So Gandy,
you're
yes.
saying that, I just want to be real clear. You're saying that Gandy and Associates are completely out of pocket for all their radon readings, and they're gambling on us accepting the bid from both them and OTS.
Gandy went and created the design for us.
They created the design
Correct.
free of charge until we accept this.
I'm not aware that we've paid Gandy. I'd have to go back and look. I'm not aware that we have.
Are you familiar, Adam? Well, I think that's critical, because what we're saying is we don't own the design, but if we own Gandy's work and we've paid for it, then we do own that. We don't own the design, but we own the readings. So off of those readings, an abatement company and the rooms, an abatement company can operate off of that if we own it, right?
Yeah, I realize. Yeah, we haven't paid the $69,000. I know that.
No, right. But my question is, I'm guessing, because I can't imagine Gandy is just like running around doing free radon testing and hoping that we pay to mediate. So I'm guessing that we have in fact purchased the radon readings, and from that we can and I think that's a critical question. I think if we paid Gandy to get radon readings and we own those readings, then getting mitigation quotes should not be that difficult, because just like ETS took those readings and created their design, so could many other mitigation companies.
I think we paid Gandy last year at the first, when we moved forward with Dunlow, we also paid for district-wide testing with Gandy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll equate it to lighting and audio video like I do. So if you pay an engineer firm to come in and count all the lights throughout all the schools and say these are 4 lamp T8s, and the count comes out, then I can bid off of that without having to go to all the schools. I think this is the equivalent of that, right?
That I'm not. I'll have to look more into that. I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion or questions?
And so if we don't do anything tonight, we're just, then it just stays like it is, the radon and all that stays. Okay. Were there any feedback from our union or our staff? I know we have heard about the students, just didn't know if there's any information on staff.
I had a meeting with the union. It's probably been 2 or 3 weeks ago now. They asked us if we had a radon mitigation plan, test results, and if we were addressing it. So I shared the same information with the association.
Okay, so then it was on the board. Okay, thank you.
Ready? I had a first by Latoya and second by Mr. Kirshner. Mrs. Dotterberger?
Aye.
Adam, can I?
Oh, sorry, yes.
I'm totally being a pain tonight.
No, you're fine.
Can I have a 5 or 10 minute recess to get an answer from someone before we do anything?
I
Just
couldn't
to
hear you.
verify.
So moved.
Actually, are we in the middle of the vote?
Yes.
We're not. I don't want to beat the drum, but we're not. We're supposed to complete our votes. If we recess, we're not supposed to recess mid vote. But if I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not going to object point of order, but typically once the vote is called, the vote, Robert's Rule of Order and everything else, you continue the vote before you do any other business.
Okay. I'll continue the vote. Okay. Mrs. Dotterberger?
I have concerns. I don't even know what to do at this point, because there's other board members that have done the very exact same thing, and this was not brought up before. So the motion was on the floor. Yes, it was in the middle of a vote, but it was first and second as well. So,
John, is it possible for Latoya to take back her vote until we come back from a recess?
we just did it before, and we just restarted the vote in the middle of the recess.
Like her vote stands.
We've had board members
Just use
change
the
their
word
vote.
as typical. I'm not calling point of order. I'm just saying this is pretty bizarre.
So we'll go to the recess. I'm okay with that. I'll just postpone them. Wait until we get back for recess, and we can revote like we've done in the past. We've had board members change their vote in the middle of voting, so we're not gonna I've seconded Ms. Emmer's 5-minute recess. If I'm fine with roll call for that, and then we can come back and finish the vote.
Adam, can you call the roll?
Okay, so I have Mrs. Zimmer and then Latoya second. Sorry. Ashley first, Latoya second for a 5-minute recess. Mrs. Dotterberger?
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert? And Mr. Kirshner?
No.
Okay, it's 8:14.
It's 8:20. We're back from recess. Mr. Treasurer, if you will call the vote.
I'll reread the motion. The superintendent recommends that the Groveport Madison Board of Education approve the resolution for necessity for the Groveport Madison radon mitigation. I have a first Latoya, second by John. Mrs. Dauberber.
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmer.
I'm going to abstain.
Mrs. Herbert
Aye.
and Mr. Kirschner.
No.
Well, on to me. Nate, you ready? First up, I have my treasurer's reports. These are for the month of April. We finally got in, the advance. Last year we got our whole payment in March, but the Franklin County's behind, their tax department's behind. So we got 90% of it in April, which actually balanced in my calculation. So I'm okay with it, but we just didn't get all of it. So that's why there's a little discrepancy in the year over year. But other than that, revenues were 26 million, like a little to 26 million in April. Expenses 8,800,000. So again, like I've said to you guys many times, in August, and then whenever it comes in, we get our tax limit in March or April. That's our months where we show actually revenues over expenses. But again, for the month of April and actually through the month of May, I just didn't include them on here, but our financials are looking good. So very in line with what I had presented in my 5-year forecast the last 2 times. So very happy. Hopefully June doesn't throw us out of whack, which I don't think it will. So our finances are looking very, very comparable to what I've done in my last 2 5-year forecasts. Charter receipts, as you can see, the charter receipts, we got the big property, 20 million coming in. So that was the 79% for this month. And then you have the state foundation, the restricted grants and aid and the unrestricted grants and aid. And then again, all other revenues, that's a big part of the tax also. Expenditures, 71% are personnel, employment, and retirement, which is very normal. Then our purchase services, and then we just have a little bit of supplies, 1%. Then we got capital outlay, we got some credits back. So that's why it's negative 60 grand. So, and again, change over prior year for April. That's why you see the big negative in March of 22 from last year and the big positive in April of 20 this year. Again, because April's only 90%. And like I said, in May, actually, we already got our other 10%, and it actually tied out pretty good in my 5-year forecast. Those were actually really close. But other than that, in April, our restricted grants and aid left 271,000. That was just increase in state foundation. And other than that, they're pretty. We had an increase in salaries, increase in insurance and stuff, and increase in purchase service, of course, with due to spec ed. But other than that, everything was pretty comparable to last year. Other than those, so I'm very feel very happy with these numbers compared to my last 2 5-year forecasts as I presented to the board. And I will be doing another one probably in the August meeting because I have to have it done by August 30th. So my next 5-year forecast. Any questions on my reports?
So you don't want us to cancel the second meeting in August?
Definitely don't. Right? Yes, yes. Do not do that. That's a good one. Next one is number 2 for me. Motion, the treasurer recommends that the Groveport Madison School Board of Education authorize the treasurer to submit to the Franklin County Auditor the FY26 final appropriations and FY26 final minute certificate of estimated resources as of June 30, 2026. And again, with the submission of revised actuals to report on the next meeting. So again, in July, I'll have the actual numbers. Mm-hmm. So we're doing this one, which I have to do this by June 30. So that's why this one and the next one has to be done by June 30. So I can submit it to them, and then I'll do the revised ones in July. Correct. So that's why I have to have this done now. Correct.
So moved.
I'll second.
Toya, Ashley. Any questions? Mrs. Dauberber?
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
And Mr. Kirschner?
Abstain.
Right. Next one is me. The treasurer recommends that the Groveport Madison Board of Education authorize the treasurer to establish fiscal year 22-27 temporary appropriations and some resources to provide for operations beginning July 1, 2026, with any modification to be actually reported at its next regular meeting for ratification. And these are roughly 50% of kind of what we spent and got in last year. So that's why we do temporaries.
So moved.
Second.
And again, we have to do this for June 30 because we start spending July 1st, obviously. Mrs. Delberger?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmer?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
And Mr. Kirschner?
Abstain.
Okay, the next couple, these are just annual things. I think it was 2 years ago. Well, I'll talk about it. The treasurer recommends that the Groveport Madison Board of Education approve the consolidated grants application. 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago now, the state
So
wanted this.
moved. So you can talk about it. Sorry. So moved.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, first and second. Sorry.
There we go. Now do your thing.
Sorry. So, like 2 or 3 years ago, the state wanted us for you guys to approve this. It used to not happen, but now they want you guys to approve to see all the grants. So this is for last year's grants, what we spent. So that's why again we have to do it before June 30th. So it's new law that came into effect, I think either 2 or 3 years ago. Any questions? Mrs. Delberger?
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Herbert?
Aye.
And Mr. Kirk?
Aye.
Okay, next one. The treasurer recommends that we approve the Bureau of Workers' Comp annual review. Ms. Sedgwick?
So moved.
Second.
I'll make sure I put that heading there because the heading's not there. But again, this is just our annual review of workers' comp for the year. It's been working great. Our workers' comp numbers are actually looking pretty good. And what's great about this company is as you see in here, it's very similar to other companies, but it's like a consortium where we'll get a refund back. So, and we'll get the refund back hopefully before this December. So that'll be nice. So I had a first by Ashley and second by Latoya. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you help me with the Sedgwick versus the other quote? Or is that all of it? Is this all in? There's Sedgwick. Is this all under
Just Sedgwick.
I'm
It's all
sorry.
Sedgwick. Yes.
So I saw the Ohio School Comp Group, and I thought that was separate.
No,
So this is all Sedgwick.
Yep. Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions, please? If not, Mrs. Delberger,
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer,
Aye.
Ms. Herbert,
Aye.
and Mr. Kirschner.
Aye.
Next one for me. The treasurer recommends the Groveport Madison Board of Education approve the MOU with GMLA.
So moved.
Second.
Again, this one and the next one. At the last negotiations, we tried to drop the 15 sick days in there, which they can be easier for everybody, and it's been a little bit harder for both them and us. So they talked about for last year about let's go back to previous contract and get the 1.25 days dropped in there instead of the 15 days drop. It didn't cost any money for them or us, but it's going to be easier doing it this way. And I talked to my people, and they're like, "That's fine." And GMLA and OPSI, which you'll see at the next one, both agree with it. This will be easier and less confusing for their people.
What makes it easier? What was the confusion?
Because dropping 15 days in, you get 15 days totally upfront in the contract, and then then you get some people like, oh, do I get extra days? No more. No, the 15 days are dropped in. So it's just a lot of questions about that. So this kind of goes back to how it previous was. And so where they just get 1.25 sick days per month. And so they know it's coming. And so we don't get any of that. Well, we got 15 days, but what calendar year was that for? So it alleviates a lot of the confusion.
So they're thinking they're starting with 15 and wanting
And get more.
Some people think they're building on that.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it just makes it easier
Thank you.
for both of them. Any other questions? Okay. I had Ashley first, second Latoya. Mrs. Delberger,
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmer,
Aye.
Ms. Herbert,
Aye.
and Mr. Kirschner.
Aye.
And then treasurer recommends Groveport Madison Education approve the attached MOU with OPSI. Same reason.
So moved.
Second.
Latoya, then Ashley. Any
Sorry.
questions on this one? Mrs. Delberger,
Aye.
Ms. Zimmer,
Aye.
Ms. Herbert,
Aye.
and Mr. Kirschner.
Yeah, I don't have that. I guess I would miss one of them. Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now we move on to item G, board member comments.
I was just gonna say thank you for all the hard work for the golf outing. I apologize I wasn't able to make it with my flight cancellation. I missed that in the services of one of our students. I wanted to thank Ms. Herbert and Ms. Zimmer. Oh wow, I'll call you Zimmerman. But Ms. Zimmer for attending the services and supporting our family. So just wanted to thank you for that.
I was trying to step away when we were discussing the radon to try to determine if multiple people agreed with the term urgent necessity, as well as figure out ways to better how we can do things moving forward in the district. And I think there is room for improvement how we handled that. We got the test results in December, I think it was. Could we not, January, somewhere around there, for the radon portion?
We got the first test results came over a couple months, and then we had to retest. They came later, and then we had to retest for asbestos. So we weren't ready back earlier then to do that. Just
Oh no, I get that, but can we, like, when we get, if we get another similar situation, can we not start getting costs for mitigating the radon, just the radon up front, to have an idea of cost comparisons with other companies, to be more informed when we get to this stage, if that makes sense?
sure.
I don't even know if it's doable. It's just hypothetical.
And you know, if schedule didn't matter, we would have a lot more flexibility as well. So I mean, this is work that's going to be going on in the classrooms with that many buildings. It's going to have to take place in the summer. So it was,
Yes, and that's
yeah.
the one person I was able to get in touch with when we were on our recess said that given the circumstance that we are a school district, it is an urgent necessity. Otherwise, we have to postpone it till next summer due to the time frame, because we can't uproot our kids from their classrooms and put them someplace else. So within the means of it, it does stand up. It's just how we can improve moving forward to make sure we're getting the most bang for our buck, if you will.
I just wanted to thank the two board members, Deanna and Ashley, for going to the funeral and representing the board. That was very kind of you.
All right.
Well, what's the first and second?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Ashley first, Latoya second. Mrs. Delaberger?
Aye.
Mrs. Delaberger. Mrs. Zimmer?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
And Mr. Kirschner?
Aye.
8:32 p.m.
We all left. Yeah, I mean.